Hello everyone, this is your lecturer Hajirah Farooq, and today I'm going to be discussing with you the lecture summary of week 4, 5, and 6 for your module named Academic Skills and Studying with Confidence. The module code for this module is BMM3113, and this lecture summary will be for the cohort 12 semester 1 students. So let's start. So we started off the week 4 lecture by discussing the learning outcomes of the session, which was to reference sources in an appropriate referencing style for the subject area. And by the end of the session, the students were able to distinguish between APA and Harvard style referencing, and to know the common mistakes in referencing, and to understand what is plagiarism, and to exercise some paraphrasing. So, the difference between APA and Harvard style in books was discussed first. As you can see on the screen, that there are some different examples of the same um, source of information cited in two different ways. The upper one is APA, the lower one is Harvard. So we discussed it a little further by discussing the difference between APA and Harvard articles in journals. Then we had a little activity where the students were supposed to guess the referencing style. So they were given four different referencing styles in different colors, and they were supposed to uh, kind of analyze and guess which one was Harvard, which one was APA, so on and so forth. And then there was another activity where the students were supposed to arrange the references in alphabetical order. And after that, we discussed if it is possible to make errors while referencing, and the answer to that was yes, of course. So uh, we also discussed if there is any information that would not require referencing, and the students had to brainstorm about it a little bit. And then we also discussed about what can go wrong while referencing. So after that, we discussed some of the common mistakes in referencing to further improve our knowledge regarding this topic. We watched a video about six mistakes to avoid when referencing, and we told the students were told to basically watch the video and find out those six mistakes. So some of those mistakes were, for example, checking the punctuation and spelling mistakes, checking the formatting mistakes, checking your reference list if it is in alphabetical order or not, if you're using the correct referencing style according to your institution or not, so on and so forth. Then we had another activity where the students were supposed to scan the QR code, and then they were supposed to reference the provided book according to APA 7 style. The format for it was given on the screen, as you can see here. The sentence that is written in bold, that is basically the format that they were supposed to use. And then we gave them an answer, a correct answer as well, so that they can tally and they can see if they have done the correct thing or not. Okay, and then we also discussed if it is the right style or not. So using inconsistent styles while referencing is quite a common error, so much so that in-text citation style could be different from bibliography, which is not a good practice, and we should always adopt one style and we should stick to it. Then we also discussed about paraphrasing. So we discussed that paraphrasing is basically demonstrating your understanding of the texts that you are reading by writing them in your own words without altering the meaning. So in short, you have to rewrite something in different words with the meaning unchanged. It means rewriting the same information in a different way. Even if you paraphrase, you still have to provide references. This is one of the most important things that you should keep in mind while writing your papers. And we discussed the same topic a little further. And how can we make referencing a little attractive? So you add a millions of references for 1,000 of words, 1,000 word assignment, which is impressive, but it's not possible. Another common mistake practice is that you include references and citations that are not even relevant, and you just do it just so that you can show that you have done some extensive research. but assessors can spot that very easily. So you have to be very, very careful about that. And then we discussed about the incorrect placement of commas, the how placing a comma here or there can disrupt your referencing formatting. And then we also discussed about the importance of keeping the reference list in an alphabetical order. Then we had another activity that was a group activity where the students were divided into a group of 3 to 5, and they had to think about any other common errors in referencing. So after that, we discussed a few more common errors of referencing, which included not making sure that they are in alphabetical order, self-plagiarism, wrong or missing URL, no author voice, wrong style, too minimal reference, inconsistent style, uncited reference, inadequate paraphrase, or extra references. Then we had another activity, and after that activity, we provided them, the students, with the solution of that activity. And yeah, that is all about the week 4 lecture. Then we discussed what we are going to be studying next week. And we also talked about some Moodle engagement and pre and post activities. So that was about week 4. Let's move on to the week 5 and see what we had in week 5. So, as usual, the first slide, and then we discussed the learning outcomes that we had to study about demonstrating effective academic presentation skills. And by the end of the session, the students were able to explain the features of different types of assignment, for example, project, report, essay, and portfolio. And they also learned how to use technical skills on assignments and reports. So we started off with an icebreaker question about what is a project, and we discussed that the project is basically a temporary endeavor to create a unique product or service or result. And projects usually have a specific objective to be achieved in a specific time frame. And then we discussed a little further about what is a project, and we also discussed what is a report. So, report is usually written in order to identify and examine issues, events, or findings that have happened in an organization, or findings from a research investigation, and it investigates, analyzes an issue, and comes to a conclusion. Then we had an activity. The first activity of week 5, which was a group activity where the students were are supposed to discuss if they are required to produce a report on inflation in the UK since COVID pandemic. How will they structure their report, and what will they exactly include in their report? And they were not supposed to write a report at all. They were just supposed to discuss what uh, components and what structure would they follow. Then we discussed about what is an essay. So an essay involves analyzing or evaluating theories, past research by other people and ideas, and it usually has a specific content and a planned structure. Then we had another activity where the students were again broken down into groups, and they were supposed to discuss that if they were asked to write an essay on current economic situation in the UK, how will they structure their essay? Then we had a little table here where we discussed the difference between essays and reports. Then we discussed what is a portfolio, and after that, we discussed when to use a portfolio. Uh, and then we also watched a video about how to set the table of contents in MS Word, and how to adjust the page margins in MS Word as well. Then, yeah, so this was the end of week 5, very um, educating slides. And then we also discussed about the Moodle pre and post activities. Moving forward to the week 6 slides, let's see what we covered in there. So in week 6, we had to learn about demonstrating effective presentation skills. And at the end of the session, the students were able to understand the important things to be considered when designing a presentation and the important things to be considered when presenting. So we discussed some tips for designing a presentation. We discussed that we need to plan and outline the presentation. We have to select design, for the slide and colors also based on your theme. We have to emphasize on one point per slide. Don't put too much information on one slide. Then we discussed a few more tips and tricks of designing a presentation. So we discussed that we should be including pictures, videos, graphs, and charts to make it clear and interesting. We should keep it as simple as possible. We should be creating a compelling structure, a very attractive structure, and we should pay attention to the design technique. For example, the font size, style, and colors. And it is very important to not forget the theme or the tone of your presentation when designing the slides. And how can we improve presentation design? We watched a video regarding that topic, and then we discussed a few things to remember when presenting, which included smiling and maintaining an eye contact, use of body language and facial expressions, avoiding distractions, and we have to prepare before a presentation. That is the key to a good presentation. Practice makes it perfect, and practicing in front of a mirror, a crowd, and timing yourself and recording yourself can be a very, very good way of practicing and perfecting your presentation skills, and being confident is, of course, last but not the least. And then some of the other things are to smile and to maintain eye contact with an audience, speaking freely, avoiding filler words, for example, so, etc. And then also to use different types of media while presenting, using effective pauses, engaging with the audience by asking simple questions or giving any small tasks. Then we had another activity where the students were broken down into groups and they had to take the presentation outline and structure on the topic of operating a franchise. And they had to use PowerPoint structure they had to use PowerPoint and make a presentation structure, and then they needed to select an appropriate design, some appropriate colors, pictures, and fonts, and also they didn't have to type the whole content. They just had to make a structure for the presentation, and this was all about week 6. So I'll come back in another video where we'll be discussing the further weeks 7 and 8. Thank you so very much for your attention and for listening. If you need any more information, you can go to Moodle and you will have all of your course material available over there. Thank you so much.